You're listening to Geek on the Mic. You're listening to Geek on the Mic, a Chicago Bears podcast pregame show. This podcast starts right now.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Geek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. And this Bears versus Texans pregame show with Isaiah Frey starts right now. How you doing, Isaiah?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Hanging in there. It's been a tough week as a Bears fan. Anytime you lose to the Green Bay Packers, especially the way they did on primetime football, it's been a tough week. And that's how I want to start this episode of Kick on the Mic off before we go further to Week 3 game preview versus the Houston Texans. What are your thoughts on the loss to the Green Bay Packers?
It was interesting. Watching the game on primetime was that first quarter, that first drive in particular, you're watching, you're like, okay, they're doing what we thought they would do, right? They're controlling the clock, running the ball. They're driving all the way down. Justin Fields gets an opportunity to scramble around the corner on a bootleg and scores a touchdown. You're like, okay, they figured it out. This is where it's at. And then it just goes downhill from there, man. I think they kind of got off rhythm on offense. They kind of got behind the sticks a little bit, and it took them off rhythm. And then Aaron Rodgers did what Aaron Rodgers did.
On that first drive, you're like, all right, this is it.
Right.
This is the year. It's finally going to happen. We're finally going to be able to score with them.
Right.
Totally wrong. Wrong. And like you mentioned, just Montgomery absolutely shredded the Packers defense in that first drive, and then we went away from them. That's something that Luke Getsy, as the offensive coordinator, has to get better at. Don't go away with the hot hand, right? So I think it's just a learning curve for a young football team for the Bears. But, hey, we move on, and now there's some winnable games ahead. So I think, obviously, you forget. I know it sucks to lose the Green Bay Packers, but now you can move forward and learn from it.
Definitely. It's a learning experience. They'll be better the next time they play them, which is good.
Right, for sure. I totally agree. So we're on to Week 3 now against the Houston Texans, and a familiar face is going to be coming back to Soldier Field, which is kind of cool. Ex-coach Lovie Smith. Obviously, Lovie Smith's time in Chicago was beautiful. One of the more successful coaches in Chicago. So it's going to be nice for him to come back. Obviously, he's not the Bears head coach anymore, but coaching the Houston Texans. So it's going to be nice to see him coming back to the Soldier Field. Obviously, the Texans are coming in at 0-1-1, and the Bears are actually 3-point favorites for this football game. And obviously, when you look at the Texans and the Bears, these are two young teams. Obviously, you have two second-year quarterbacks, one in Davis Mills, obviously, and Justin Fields. So that matchup's going to be interesting. And just two teams trying to look for big bounce-back wins. Obviously, the Texans are looking for their first win, and the Bears looking to bounce back after a disappointing performance in Green Bay. So, Isaiah, when you look at this game, what's your initial thoughts?
First and foremost, I think it's cool that Lovey's coming back. That was my coach when I got drafted. Good dude, man. One of the best men I was able to ever meet. And he kind of established what's going on in Chicago right now, even to this day. And I hope he gets a standing ovation there. Right. No gets, but just a good dude. But as far as the game, I think what you're going to see is kind of the same stuff on the defensive side of the ball, going at each other. This is the same scheme. They come from the same family. What the Texans are going to go try to do, I can almost guarantee this. They're going to put pressure on Justin Fields to make plays with his arm, and they're going to stack the box and play cover one and say, beat us with the receivers. So I think you look forward to Lovey doing that against Chicago this week.
Right, and obviously that's a big storyline going into this week is that Justin Fields needs to throw the ball a little bit more. Obviously, Luke Getsy came out and said, you know what, we do call pass plays. Most of the time things break down, and Justin Fields has to make plays with his legs. So obviously that's not Luke Getsy's fault. But obviously having 11 pass attempts and only 70 yards, it's not going to get it done. Obviously you need to get guys like Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney open, even guys like Byron Pringle. We have to get our playmakers more involved because at the end of the day, 70 passing yards is not going to win you a lot of football games.
No, not at all. No, it's not going to get you anywhere where you need to be. I think, we kind of chalked that first game up to the weather. That was, what it was. It kind of slowed the passing game and the offense down. But this last game, man, it was total dominance on Green Bay's part when it came, playing the Bears offense. And it's a little bit of everything. I don't like when coaches try to say that they're doing what they're supposed to do because you're not. You're the coach. Figure it out.
Right.
You're not supposed to put blame on a player. You're supposed to go in the meeting room, coach up, and figure it out and have a partnership in this. So I'm hoping that they can do that this week.
Yeah, and obviously this is a good opportunity, I think, for both teams to have a bounce-back game. I feel like both teams have flaws. Both teams are young. Both teams are still trying to figure themselves out. New coaches, new players, young players at that, and still trying to figure out themselves, right? So this is going to be a good opportunity, not only for Justin Fields, but maybe Davis Mills to come in here and maybe try to have a bounce-back game. So it's going to be interesting to see these two quarterbacks go at it. And obviously, I think this is what Chicago is going to try to do this Sunday against the Texans. They're going to try to run the football. Obviously, we'll get more into this later in the show, but they're going to try to run the football with David Montgomery. Houston's rushing defense hasn't been good. Their passing defense hasn't been very good either. So this is a very good chance for Justin Fields and this Chicago Bears offense to maybe gain a little bit of confidence.
Right. Definitely. This is the game where, if you want to see as we say when we're younger, a stat game, this is the stat game for him, right? You need to see that 250 plus game, 70% completion. That's what we're looking for this game.
Right.
Just knowing how Lovey coached, man. Lovey's one of the architects of the Tampa 2.
Right.
But in that, is a lot of cover one, right? That's a lot of the single high they're running, and that's what they're going to show him this week, right? They want to see if he can fit it in those tight spaces. So he'll have a lot of opportunities to make plays with his arm.
Yeah, and I want Bears fans to kind of realize that. I think when you look at the Texans, you look at one of the worst teams in the NFL. That's not how I look at them. I look at a team that's coached by Lovie Smith that I have a lot of respect for Lovie Smith, and he's going to get an identity for that football team. That's first and foremost. They're going to be ready to play. They're going to be prepared. This team's not going to just lay down for you, right? So I want Bears fans to kind of realize that this is going to be a tough game. Any game that you play in the NFL is a tough game. So don't look past the Houston Texans, because if you do that, they're going to come in and run you over. So that's kind of the message before we go any further that I kind of want to give Chicago Bears fans. Because, some Bears fans say, all right, yeah, this is a get-right game. This is a good chance. But at the same time, the Bears also have their flaws. So I know that Houston Texans fans and maybe some players on the Houston Texans are probably thinking the same thing. This is a good opportunity for us to get right.
Oh, definitely. I sometimes feel like Coach Lovey, he gets a bad rap with his coaching, but he's a winner, man. When he got fired in my rookie year, we were 10-6. That was a great. We should have made the playoffs, but for whatever reason, we just didn't make it that year. He gets fired. He goes to Tampa. I actually go to Tampa with him, and he starts off with a 2-14 team my first year there, which was expected. Tampa wasn't good. But then we improved that next season, and he gets fired again, gets the short end of the stick. So, he's a good coach, man.
Right.
It's just sometimes the outside factors just don't align with him, right? But he'll have them boys ready to play. So Chicago needs to be ready as well. Right.
And before we move on, you brought up a very good point. 10-6 and gets fired. I still feel like the Chicago Bears are cursed because they fired Lovie Smith. You just don't fire a coach that goes 10-6. That's just my personal opinion.
There was grown men in the meeting room in tears when that happened.
I believe it. I believe it.
So
I believe it.
So how impactful that was.
Right. So now we're going to move on to the key injuries of this football game against the Houston Texans. Obviously, when you look at the Chicago Bears, they added a couple of guys to the injury report, but some of the key guys that are injured for the Chicago Bears are linebacker Matthew Adams. He's done with a hamstring issue. If he is unable to play, I'm kind of expecting maybe rookie out of Wisconsin, Jack Sanborn, to maybe step up and replace him. We'll see how that goes. Jalen Johnson is dealing with a quad. He should be good to go. Velus Jones Jr. still dealing with that hamstring issue. Hopefully he's good to go. He's been kind of limited throughout the week, so I'm not sure if he's going to suit up on Sunday. And then, of course, Roquan Smith dealing with a hip injury. But defensive coordinator Alan Williams said he should be good to go for Sunday. When you look at the Texans, Davis Mills is dealing with a thumb injury. He's been practicing in full, so he should be good to go. And then D lineman Malik Collins is dealing with a knee injury as well. Once again, I bring up that's a key injury because once again I brought up about them having struggling against the run. And obviously having a veteran guy like Malik Collins out there would help them. So that's definitely a key injury to watch for the Houston Texans. So now we're going to move on to the X factors for this football game. And Isaiah, I'll let you start us off.
I think for Chicago, man, I think what everybody wants to see is Darnell Mooney, right?
Yes.
I think selfishly I want to see him because I have him on my fantasy team, man. But just for the betterment of the team, he's the number one guy, and he's only was he got 2 catches this year?
2 catches for 4 yards.
That's not his fault, man. That's just not getting him the ball. And you got your number one guy out there, man. You got to find ways to give him the ball, whether that be screen, quick throws. It doesn't matter. Get him touches, get him involved in the game, so he's in the game. He's the X factor for Chicago.
Yes.
And then for Houston, I'm going with the quarterback, Davis Mills. Right?
Yeah.
He the second-year guy. Not bad, but they're going to go as far as he takes him. So we're going to see how he does. Hopefully that Bears D-line can kind of get some pressure on him, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, Luke Getsy definitely has to get more creative with Darnell Mooney. If he's supposed to be your number one guy, you have to get him involved. And it can't be that difficult to get a guy like Darnell Mooney involved. He's a very talented player.
Right.
Same thing with Cole Kmet. Both very talented guys. So I don't really see no excuse why they haven't been involved. That's tough. So I'm hoping they get Darnell Mooney involved, and that sounds like the plan. Eberflus came out and said, you know what? Obviously, we need to get those guys involved. We're not dumb, right? So hopefully it ramps up this weekend.
Definitely. I feel like it will. I mean, 2 games with 2 catches, man, for a number one guy it's not good. It's not good.
It's not going to cut it, no.
No, it's not going to cut it. You got to find creative ways.
Absolutely. So my X factors, I'm going to start off with running back David Montgomery. Obviously, he struggled the first game against the 49ers, and I think there was a lot of people kind of saying, you know what, maybe David Montgomery doesn't fit this offense. David Montgomery said, hey, hold up 1 second. Absolutely torched the Green Bay Packers. If Luke Getsy actually stuck with the running game and didn't go away from it, who knows how many yards David Montgomery would have had. He was making Superman-type plays against the Green Bay Packers, and I was absolutely amazed. And obviously, once again, the Houston Texans are 30th against the run, so it's going to be a heavy dose of running the football, and obviously that opens up the passing game for the Chicago Bears. And obviously, if David Montgomery gets going, that will help maybe Darnell Mooney get open, right? So obviously, that's my big X factor for the Chicago Bears. And then when I look at the Houston Texans, wide receiver Brandon Cooks, their little speedster over there, he's their go-to guy right now. He has 11 catches for 136 yards. And obviously, once again, that kind of piggybacks to what you said about Davis Mills. Davis Mills is going to look towards his top target. And I kind of have a feeling that they're going to scheme up some plays for Brandon Cooks to be lined up with Kyler Gordon, especially after what Kyler Gordon did against the Green Bay Packers. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Oh, definitely. I think watching that game last week, Kyler had a tough game, man. And it's expected going against Aaron Rodgers, man. You're a rookie. He knows who's there. Like,
yeah,
I can speak from experience, man. I've been. Oh yeah, I know,
right.
man. So he'll have a better game this week, man, and that was good for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He knows what he needs to work on, and that's I think going when we talk about it later. That's one of the main matchups right there, man. Is when Kyler, Brandon, right? He's not to stay on that. So. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that.
Yeah, and people are gonna pick on him now. They have tape, but like you said, it's a learning experience. And I'm get it out of the way now against Green Bay, but learn from it, right? We're a young football team. Learn from it. Right. Don't make the same mistake twice, right? So, if he starts stacking games like that, then it's like, okay, we need to make some corrections. But it's a learning experience.
Oh, it's against the number one, arguably the number one quarterback in the league right now, man. There's nothing to hang your head about.
Right. Right. So I'm interested to see how that works out. So now we're going to move on to key matchups against the Houston Texans, and we'll just piggyback off each other, and I'll start here. And I think we're going to have the same one here, so I guess we can, piggyback off each other. But once again, Brandon Cooks versus Kyler Gordon, I think is going to be a huge matchup. I think Houston, they're going to attack him. I think a lot of guys are going to attack Kyler Gordon, especially after what happened against Green Bay. I think he's going to have a better game, but obviously when you look at Kyler Gordon's performance against the Packers, he allowed 10 catches for 162 yards and a touchdown. His instincts looked a little bit off. Just a young player, still need to develop, still has a lot of work to do. But I have every expectation that the Houston Texans are going to try to scheme up some plays where Brandon Cooks and Kyler Gordon will be matching up with each other.
Definitely. I that's mine as well. Just to piggyback on what you said, what I would like to see them do, especially for a young guy, man, this is tough to do. But they need to find a spot where they need him at the most and have him focus on that for now, just because he's a rookie. It's hard for a rookie to move from the outside spot at corner into nickel when it's time to go nickel. You know what I mean? Like
right.
That's literally two different positions you're learning. And then also when I played and we had a nickel position, the nickel was a whole different separate meeting room. So it's like for him, I think they got him just out there thinking too much. I think he needs to hone in on one spot, master it, and then go to the other one. Then you can start to do what you're doing now.
Yeah, keep things simple for him right now. Maybe just keep him in the slot or maybe just keep him in outside, but he's definitely doing both right now, and that can be confusing for a young guy.
Oh, hard. Yeah, that's hard as heck, man, especially for a rookie. I can't even imagine what he's going through right now.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll let you go do your second one.
Second one, just, Darnell Mooney versus Steven Nelson, and in that secondary right there,
Okay.
I think they need to get him involved early. I think
Right.
he needs to be able to pop the top. Once he's able to pop the top, man, this is going to open everything up, right? Okamet can open. Byron Pringle can get open. We can obviously run David Montgomery a little bit more if they start to go a little too high look. So that's one of the main matches I'm looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to piggyback off you because I have Darnell Mooney versus Derek Stingley Jr. Stingley is a rookie on that defense, and he has a lot of talent. He's going to be a really good corner for a long time in the NFL, but he's definitely shown his inexperience because, once again, like Kyler Gordon, he's a rookie, right? It's a learning curve for them. But once again, much like how I said the Texans have struggled against the run, they have struggled just as much against the pass. They're 27th against the pass after 2 games. So once again, I have a feeling that Chicago will have an opportunity to get some big plays. Once again, if you can get the run game going, maybe that'll open some things up for Darnell Mooney. But you're absolutely right. Darnell Mooney has to get involved. If the Bears want to win some football games this year, 2 catches for 4 yards is not going to cut it. So, Luke Getsy, you got to be creative.
Oh, definitely. It's just for me, sometimes I'm looking at it, it's just a little conservative as far as the play calling. Like, Justin Fields has a strong arm, man. We all know that. He needs to push the ball downfield a little bit more with the play calling. It's not his fault. It's just he hasn't had any opportunity.
Right.
So.
Right. And there's really no excuse when it comes to Darnell Mooney because, like you said, he's a talented guy, but Mooney has a very good route running skills and his speed definitely pops out on tape, right? So he's open. It's just I don't know what's going on. Are they still learning the offense? That could be something where it just clicks all of a sudden. That could be a problem. But it's like there's really no excuse. He's like 2 catches for 4 yards. I can understand why Bears fans are getting frustrated.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I'm sure he's frustrated as well.
Absolutely.
Too, so. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I only had 2 key matchups today because I'm just keeping it simple. I'm not sure if you had one more for us.
No, those are the main ones, man. This is going to be a simple ball game for both teams. I think know who can control the line of scrimmage like that, and then whoever can play man and whoever can push the ball downfield is going to win the game. That's pretty.
And that's the fun thing about this football game is that both teams have their flaws. The Bears defense definitely showed their flaws against Green Bay. The tackling was a big issue. And obviously, once again, you go from Trey Lance, inexperience, right, from Aaron Rodgers, to a Davis Mills guy that is not mobile, right? He's not going to get out of the pocket. He's not going to do the things that Aaron Rodgers can do. So that makes things a little bit easier. But the Bears defense definitely showed their flaws, definitely had some things they need to clean up. So this game is wide open for either team. They just have to go out there and take it.
Yeah, yeah, it's it can go either way. As far as who's going to win, it comes down to those key spots that we just spoke about. I think those are whoever dominates those areas is going to win the game.
So Isaiah, we're talking about winning, right? So what are 3 keys to a Chicago Bears win here against the Houston Texans?
First one is opening up the offensive playbook. That first series, man, was fantastic. I loved it. I loved everything they were establishing. Play action, run the ball, controlling the clock. I think that's where their bread and butter is that year. This year, I think that's the one main key. 2, I think just a secondary to continue to improve. Kyler Gordon, I see him getting better this game. Just being able to not give up those catches that he gave up last week, and then 3 on both sides of the ball, establishing the line of scrimmage. Right, D-line's going to do what they do. Offensive line needs to continue to block well when the run's called, when the number's called, and we need to continue just to control that clock as much as possible, and then give Justin Fields opportunities to push the ball downfield.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And you talk about how good the first drive looked for the Chicago Bears offense against the Packers, and I just have a quick question since you were on the inside. How often do the offensive coordinators, or maybe the defensive coordinators, how often do you guys script plays for the first series?
So it's all. I would say probably, if it's not 100%, it's like 95% of offensive coordinators have a first 15 that they run.
Okay.
And then after that, they kind of gauge the flow of the game, and they go off script.
Because that makes sense, if you're talking about scripting plays, why it looks so good, and then it just kind of fizzled out, right? So I was just curious about that, because I know a lot of teams script their plays and it will look fine, and then obviously, like I said, will fizzle out. So
yeah, it was definitely scripted, which is good though. I mean, sometimes the script works. You know what I mean? Like
right.
That's why they say stick to the script, right?
Yep.
It should just continue to go. I think they got they got off track, man. Just off that second series, it kind of took them off of what they were trying to do.
Yeah, for sure. So my 3 keys to a Chicago Bears win. First one is, like always, pressure the quarterback. Pressure Davis Mills. Guy's not going to scramble. He may scramble every once in a while, but it's not going to be fast, right? He's already been sacked 6 times this season. And I believe they are missing their starting center will be out this game, Justin Britt. So it's going to be a backup center there for the Houston Texans. So get pressure. Robert Quinn had a pretty good game. Travis Gibson definitely popped out in that game against the Green Bay Packers. Keep going. Get to the quarterback. They're able to get home with 4, which is really nice in this Eberflus system. So I'm expecting a lot of pressure on Davis Mills. Number 2, keeping it simple. Run the ball. Run the ball. Give the ball to David Montgomery. Obviously, I mentioned earlier in the podcast, but the Texas defense is 30th against the run. So they will give you the yards, right? So once again, stick to the script. If David Montgomery is torching them, run. That opens up the play action. That opens up the bootlegs. That opens up the rollouts for Justin Fields. And that maybe look good for your fantasy when Darnell Mooney catches a lot of passes this Sunday, right?
I hope so.
And number 3, let Justin Fields sling it. Once again, that's kind of piggybacking off the second point, run the football. If you're able to run the football, Justin Fields will be able to sling it. Once again, Houston Texans are 27th against the pass as well. So they just have to go out there and execute, right? Justin Fields will tell you, we have to go out there and just execute. But a good day for Justin Fields would be 20 to 25 pass attempts.
Definitely.
I think that would be a very good day. I'm not asking the Chicago Bears to call 50 pass plays. That's not what we're asking. But it needs to be more than 11.
Yeah, definitely.
So let him loose. Let Justin Fields be Justin Fields, in so many words.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. It's almost frustrating watching. It's looking like handcuffs. You know what I mean? Like let him get in the rhythm, man. Let him have some incomplete passes. That's fine. Like just be involved in the game, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because just rewatching that Packers game is tough, because it's like there was plays out there to be made.
Definitely.
But I think right now it's just the holding back stage is like you just need to let him go. Let him go and let him be Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And I think once they do that, you'll be fine.
Right. You watch the velocity on his ball when he throws it, man. It's just the kid got an arm, man. You got to use it.
Right. For sure. I definitely agree. So we're going to move on to the prediction part of the podcast now. And hopefully we are a little bit more accurate with our picks. Obviously, last week you said the Bears were going to win by 10. They ended up losing by 17. I think I said the Bears were going to win by 7. Once again, lost by 17. Hopefully we are more accurate this week. Who's going to win this game, Isaiah?
Man, I'm going a close one this week, just for the fact that what happened to Chicago, and Lovey gonna have them boys ready, man. He ain't gonna show it, but he excited himself, and he gonna have them ready. So I'm gonna go Chicago. I'm gonna go 24-21.
Okay. You know, it's funny that you know Lovey Smith. Lovey Smith's a very even keel guy.
Definitely.
And they asked him, "How are you feeling?" He's like, "Just another game." But deep down, he wants it. Deep down, he wants to beat the Chicago Bears. He won't come out and say it, but if they end up beating the Bears, he's going to be super pumped up in that locker room after the game. So
I was with him in Tampa when we came back and played Chicago. And, like you said, he's an even keel guy, but that was when we got during the game, that was the most animated I seen him during the game, just because how much he wanted it. We ended up losing that game, unfortunately, but he wants his game. He does. For sure. And he's, like you said, he's going to have these guys ready to play, because this is the game that, when the schedule came out, he circled this one on the calendar for sure. Most definitely.
So you got them scoring 24 points. I just don't see more than 20 points for the Bears at the moment. If they open up the offense, can execute a little bit better and actually score some points, then maybe I can give them more than 20 points. I do think the Bears will win this game. But I think it's going to be more because of David Montgomery controlling the ground game, and then Justin Fields will just make the necessary plays. I think he'll have more pass attempts than 11 pass attempts, I'm hoping. And I think he will have a good game or a better game, but I think the Bears beat the Texans 17-13. So I'm going to keep it low, because usually with Bears games, you keep it low. The Bears have never been a high-scoring offense, right? I need to see it to believe it before I can give you more than 20 points.
I hear you. Hey, I'm not mad at that, man. That you got to prove it, right? I get you on that. So I can see that happening as well too. Right. Kind of a defensive rounded game. So
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
At the end of the day, they're going to get the W. We'll see.
And obviously the Bears get the W. We go 2-1 going against another winnable game against the New York Giants. But they have a couple of games here coming up that they can right the ship really easily.
Right. Then get that confidence going, get a rhythm going. Yeah. After that, man, it's ball game. And
Isaiah, before I let you go, what are your last thoughts before we end the podcast today on this game?
I'm excited for it, man. Anytime I can see Lovey go back to Chicago, man, it's fantastic. He, for me personally, he's a great dude. I owe him the world, man, just for giving me the opportunity to play in the league. And I can't thank him enough. Even Chicago didn't want me anymore. He brought me to Tampa with him.
That's awesome.
So secretly, man, I'm always going to be a Lovey fan. You know what I mean? I'm going to root for him, man. I always want him to be successful. But as far as the game goes, I do think Chicago, and I think it will be a good game. But it's a toss-up, man. To be honest with you, it's a toss-up.
It is definitely a toss-up. We talked about it, and I guess my last thoughts on this game is that I do feel like the Bears have a couple of more players than the Texans. I think we have a couple more playmakers than the Houston Texans do. I think the Texans are still a couple years away from being a good football team, and of course the Bears are too, right? But I think the Bears are further along in their rebuild than the Houston Texans are. But I still think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a toss-up, but once again, if Davis Mills plays better, the Texans will have a good shot to win. If Justin Fields comes out and plays better, the Bears will probably have a better chance to win. So it's going to be a fun game to watch. I'm actually really intrigued. I know a lot of people around the NFL won't be watching this game because Texans Bears. To them, it's going to be like the loser bowl, like who's going to get the higher pick here. But I'm actually intrigued for this matchup against the Texans. So,
yeah, it's going to be a good game, man. It's not going to be a slouch game at all. And I think at the end of the day, like you said, it comes down to which quarterback plays better.
That's how it always is, right? That's how it always works. Right. So, well, Isaiah, once again, thank you so much for coming on. It's been awesome to have you on each week. I know, once again, the Bears fans are loving it, and they weren't too happy with the predictions last week because obviously the Bears didn't perform, but hey, that's not our fault. We're just on here, trying to spread positivity on the Chicago Bears.
That's it, man. All we can do is hope for the best.
Right.
So, we should see a better result this week.
Absolutely. But once again, thank you for coming on the show today.
Of course.
All right, Bears fans, before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. And make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, I'll be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You've been listening to Geek on the Mic, a podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Thanks, guys, and bear down.